Now, another thing that I want to talk about in this confidence gap piece, I just mentioned spirituality and spiritual entrepreneurs, and spirituality is a big part of me and why I do what I do. And it's a big part of what I do, actually. In teaching women to speak from their fully aligned, authentic selves, I mean fully aligned spiritually and physically and mentally. So mind, body, spirit all together. And aligned with money. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too. So in the spiritual community, there is this belief that it's not okay to be wealthy, and that if I make a lot of money, I'm betraying my spiritual principles. And some of my mentors call this spiritual snobbery, and I'm going to say that, and I don't want you to take it as I'm calling you a snob. I'm not calling you a snob, but money is energy, right? Money is what we have agreed is a medium of exchange. So you give me money and I give you my training and experience, and I help you to create what you want to create in your life. I give the grocery store money for my food, and I give money to causes that I care about in order to help those causes do what they want to do. Money is really energy passing around. It flows in and it flows out. It doesn't have any particular negativity or positivity to it whatsoever. And in the spiritual world, we can really tend to think of money as negative, and it has a kind of yucky quality. You know, I wish I didn't have to even think about money. It just, I could just do what I love and live and not have to think about money. That would be perfect. Well, unfortunately, we can't. And if we're trying to run a business, double, triple, quadruple, you can't think that way. Because what's going to happen? What happens, Rodney, if you think, oh, I just am not going to think about money?
Yeah, well, you're not going to be in business. And then, and even if you have to go get a job, you're still in business because the business is hiring you to work for them. So
Right.
it's inescapable.
And we need money in order to buy food, in order to have shelter, in order to do the things that we want to do in the world. So recognize that money is something that is neutral in and of itself. And it can also be a magnifier. But if you start to bring more money into your life, it's not going to change who you are. It can magnify those parts of you that are really good. Money can actually help you do good in the world. And you have things that you want to contribute to, especially if you're a change agent or a messenger of change on the planet. You have causes very near and dear to your heart that you want to be able to support. And I want you to be able to support them. I have causes that I support, too. That's really important to me. So those are some of the things that are really important for us to recognize when we want to be able to raise our fees and actually charge what we're worth. Now, another thing that I want to talk to you about that makes it hard for a lot of us to even talk about money is what I call voice stories. And those of you who've seen my Hangouts before have heard me talk about voice stories. They're unconscious decisions that we've made about how to sound, how to speak. And they usually come from childhood or sometimes from traumatic events that happened as an adult. And voice stories can be things like you were told all the time that children should be seen and not heard, or girls should be seen and not heard, which tends to be more common, unfortunately. Or you had a parent at home who was really volatile and everyone was walking around on eggshells in order not to set off that parent. So you really held your voice back. You stopped speaking up for yourself and speaking out for yourself, or even fully expressing yourself, because it wasn't safe at home to do that. Rodney, what are some other voice stories?
Oh, wow. Well, there's the one for me, well, one that I found that comes up a lot for creative people in particular is that I'm selling out. If I don't allow myself, if I shouldn't be charging a lot of money for what I'm doing because this is coming from my heart and my spirit, so to speak, for my creativity. So this the story that I'm selling out. That's
Yes.
what I tend to come across a lot with artists in particular.
Yes. Oh, that's such a great one. I'm so glad you brought that up because I really had that one because I'm an artist. I used to be a professional modern dancer. I was a professional opera singer, and I really did have that one. And how it showed up for me as a limiting belief, too, not just a voice story, but was I will no longer be an artist if I make a lot of money. And
Hmm.
that's really not true. It's
Right.
actually just not true. And another voice story I just heard this weekend, I was at a conference with a bunch of really top coaches and trainers and consultants. And one woman had this voice story from her childhood, and you could really hear it in her voice when she was trying to speak about what it is that she actually does. And the trainer actually caught it and said, "Who told you that you can't speak up?" Oh, my dad.
Mm,
Her
mm,
father had actually told her that people wouldn't believe her when she speaks.
wow.
And that was one that I hadn't heard before. And that's, really damaging one. And, you know, when these things happen, when our parents say these things to us, they are generally not saying them because they're trying to hurt us, right?
Mm,
They have something that they're speaking out of, either it's their own voice story or
mhm,
their own particular perception about how things are in the world, and they are either trying to do something for themselves that's positive, or they're trying to do something for us that's positive.
mhm,
So I'm not here to try and tell you your parents were bad people. That's not at all what I'm saying. These stories come out of the culture. So the girls should be seen and not heard, or even children should be seen and not heard, definitely comes out of the culture. And if you are even in a different culture than the American or Western European culture, that those stories about women and girls can get even more extreme.
mhm,
So that really, the culture is planet wide. It's just less in our country than it is in some other countries, other places in the world where girls are not even allowed to go to school.
mhm,
Uh, so there are layers and layers to these things, of course. But I want you to be able to uncover those voice stories for yourself, because what they do is they cause you to actually hold back. They stop you from speaking out, speaking up, and speaking fully with full free self-expression in a way that's really completely aligned for you. So I really want you to be able to release those voice stories.